Hi there, I'm Michael Hill with Canine Chronicle TV, and for our next segment of the NextGen series, we're going to be talking today with Brandon Edge of Cutting Edge Bulldogs and Frenchies. Let's start with how you got started in dogs in general.
So, my dad actually bred Labrador Retrievers and blue tick coonhounds, but he did like field trials and stuff like that, and then just watching dog shows on TV. And then one day I wanted a Frenchie, and my dad was like, I'm not paying that much money for a French Bulldog. So saved my money, and long story short, I ended up getting one. And then I contacted a local breeder and started traveling to shows with her. And then after going to a couple shows with them, I met Chris and Rachel, Christian Manilopoulos.
Yeah.
So I started working with him as a handler assistant for a couple years while I was in high school and through college, and then
lots of grooming. And
lots of grooming with poodles. Actually,
blow dryers.
I had a pet poodle.
Oh,
so
really?
I was like, I want to groom poodles, and then I worked for them for a couple years, loved it, learned a lot, met a lot of people that helped me, which then helped me move into bulldogs as well. So just went from there, and then I was really fortunate to meet several successful Frenchie and Bulldog individuals, like the Hetheringtons from Bulldogs, and then my co-breeder who's based in LA with Hollywood French Bulldogs. So we just kind of went from there, and then over the years met more people and developed my relationship with the Pitts, Mike and Linda Pitts, like a second parents to me. And that's kind of how it got started, and from there.
Were you showing your own dogs at the beginning?
Oh yeah, so I always showed my own Frenchies and Bulldogs, and then I showed for other breeders that were like, hey, can you help us? And so I was always trying to learn more, asking a ton of questions. I was always like a sponge.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I always find is really important. A lot of people want to be the voice in the room, but oftentimes they need to be the ears in the room, just listening. And you can ask questions, but make sure you're asking the right questions, and also make sure you're asking the right questions of the right people. Because if you ask this people that may not be exactly the most successful, they're probably not going to give you the best advice.
They might give you a lot more.
Yeah,
too.
they might. They're going to tell you the sad song of why you should have won or why you didn't or something like that. But if you talk to the people that can actually give you constructive criticism and help you along the way, that's kind of what helped me out a lot. I learned a lot from Linda over the years. When she had the pulley.
You guys traveled together and everything.
All together when Preston's big year, which was 2016. Yeah, 2016. And he won all the all-breed shows here in the Weston Show at Royal Canin, and he was the #1 dog all-breed. So that was a lot. 200 plus dog shows. Yeah. All around the country together in the motorhome, which a lot of fun. I learned a lot that year. So, So
what were some takeaways from that year? That's a pretty unique experience.
Yeah,
Not everyone gets that.
That year, coming into the end of the year, it's never like a lot can happen. It's large dog shows. There's a lot of points to be had. So depending on how it happened, but we knew coming into this weekend that his spread was so large, like no one could touch him. So it was a fun weekend,
like a celebration.
It was a celebration.
Yeah.
We didn't have to sit at the setup and crunch numbers to see like, okay, if
how
this
close
dog does this or this or like that type of thing. So it was very great. And then just on top of him, winning all the, not necessarily just the winning, but just watching a magnificent dog of that breed that's, not a common breed to be #1 dog all breeds, and then come in and like clean sweep the weekend and win Royal Canin,
it's pretty huge.
Yeah, it was a huge thing, and so just being a small part of that,
how did you guys keep a dog like that conditioned and willing to perform over and over again?
Yeah, so that dog was he was just a show dog. He loved it. We would, every night, a lot of people would see it, like, we just let him run. He lived loose in the truck. Yeah. He was hardly ever crated. He didn't like a crate. He would never stop barking if he was in a crate. So he was pretty spoiled. But he, literally at night, we would let him just run around the ring. Or we would go out, and if we were at shows, like a few times we stayed in hotels, we we would go to, just let him run around and stuff, and like
Be a dog.
Yeah, be a dog. I mean, 100%. I mean, you had to keep him as much physically in shape as mentally in shape, because, you know, Linda always says that the real test of a true handler is not necessarily how good the dog does, but how well it shows on the first weekend as it does the last weekend. And that dog showed great the whole entire time. So that's a big testament to her and her ability. I mean, you know, she's probably one of the best handlers as far as going the whole time. So just learning little things like that from her. But Preston was just like the coolest dog. You know, he would sleep in the bed with me at night. Or, you know, he'd start there or get down and sleep on the floor.
Make his rounds.
Yeah, he was a cool dog. So, you know, but just keeping, I mean, we would let him run around, and he had a moose, which was like a toy that he loved, so he would carry it around. So
I think that's so important too, for especially people who are new to dog shows and might be kind of concerned when they see like all these crates and, oh no, the dogs must hate their life, but you can really make it fun for the dog.
Yeah, and you know, and like the thing of it is a lot of times people are like, oh, you know, they're, you know, dogs are bred to do a job. And I always laugh and tell everyone, I was like, they're in the ring for like, what, 2 to 5 minutes at a regular show type of thing.
Yeah.
They're there to do a job for the moment. Outside of that 10 minutes, they're like being pets, you know, they're
totally spoiled
doing dog stuff, you know, because a dog that's not well taken care of isn't going to do it, and it's not going to perform. So they live better than a lot of people.
It's so true. So let's talk about your breeding program and what you've been doing with that.
So I've, you know, we've been involved in Frenchies. It's like a family affair, Frenchie and Bulldogs. My parents helped me a lot because of work, because I actually work in the pharmaceutical industry. So I work on the development side of trials. So we breed on a very limited basis, like 1 or 2 litters a year, depending on timing and stuff like that. It's really important for me, you know, French Bulldogs and Bulldogs are both, they have to have pretty faces. I mean, it's so, you know, it's a square breed. When they're heads, they just, you know, there's so many priorities and nuances of the breeds. They're similar but different at the same time, because, you know, they have a lot of similarities, but the Bulldog, I always tell people, is just a bit more extreme than the Frenchie. But yeah, so, you know, it's really important for me, like, I don't campaign dogs a whole lot. We show them and finish them, and then, you know, we'll place them in pet homes afterwards. We have placed a lot of dogs that were really pretty that I just was like, no, I'll just breed for ourselves and show it and finish it, and then
let it retire and
let it go live with the family, you know, that type of thing. So, you know, if it wasn't for my family, my parents and stuff, they're a huge part as well. So just make it fun. It's like a family thing. My siblings and niece and nephews help raise puppies, socialize them, so it's great.
That's really cool. I think that's a great point about the sport of dogs. So you can have like those connections, whether they're blood family or, you know, acquired family, that make this possible. But because they're also necessary, it kind of forces you to have to form those relationships.
For sure. I mean, if it wasn't, you know, Linda, I mean, with me working now, like, I don't get to as many dog shows as I used to. And then now with me judging, like, I really don't get to as many dog shows. So, like, Linda shows all of our dogs, and Linda actually co-breeds the Frenchies and Bulldogs with my parents.
Oh, how cool.
I co-breed the Cockers with her. So, which is a lot of fun, you know. We've been very lucky, and, you know, studied pedigrees and stuff like that. So we've been to Europe to look at dogs and bring back. So, you know, it's been a lot of fun across the 3 breeds, and learning and making sure, you know, I mean, breeding is an art. I mean, I always tell everyone, you know, you can take the 2 best dogs, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. And you can take something and you're like, all right, this should work. And then when you see it come to life of what you think will happen, that's the most rewarding part. And then also at the same time, when you see them go to their loving families, that's another rewarding part. You know, people often ask, like, how is it must be so hard to, like, place puppies. And I was like, you know, it is hard, but when you see the loving families they go to, that people want purebred dogs, then, you know, that makes it rewarding as well.
I think that's a great point about that engagement with people, as far as not just getting totally caught up in the dogs, because I think that's a major, you know, trap to get so fixated on the dogs that you don't turn outwards to the public, because that's a great way to get people involved in the sport.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we've had, like, I try to, you know, Frenchies and Bulldogs, fortunately, unfortunately, are very popular. I mean,
Yeah, totally.
you can walk down the street. I know just in Raleigh, like I'll walk down the street and I'll see probably 5 Frenchies. No, now they're not really good Frenchies, and
Yes.
you know they're cute and everything that they
All
should.
kinds of variations.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, it's good. You know, I can like stop and talk to people and talk to them about them, and you know,
Totally.
stuff like that. So it's really good to keep people involved, and you know, and get new people going. I mean, because you have to take a chance sometimes on people.
Yeah.
And so I was very fortunate to people took a chance on me. So I mean, because if someone would, if like for example, Chris and Rachel, if they wouldn't have responded to the email that I sent them initially,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be here today. I mean,
Totally.
would like to think I would be, because you know I don't take no for an answer and I just keep going. And so, but like they responded back to my email, and so
That set
you know,
every
and that
next
set
step in
everything else.
motion.
It
Yeah.
allowed me to like learn how to be a better handler, learn conditioning of code, and like all that kind of stuff that you have to learn the basics in order to keep building on it. Because if you don't have a good foundation,
Yeah.
it's like a house. If you don't build it on a solid foundation, if you just keep piling on top, it's just going to come crashing down.
You're giving yourself a test impossible
Exactly.
to pass. Yeah.
100%.
So what would you, for someone who's new to the sport and considering getting involved, what would you give, what kind of advice would you give them to make sure that they are starting off on a good foundation?
Yeah, my thing is making sure you first do your research. You know, whatever the breed may be, or if it's not conformation, if it's obedience, you know, find local classes or something like that that you can get involved with, or even a local breeder. You know, just the first person you talk to is not necessarily has to be the first person you buy a dog from. You can talk to people, start building that relationship, finding out if the breed's right for you, because every breed's not right for the same person. I mean, like I live in a condo downtown Raleigh.
Yeah.
I can't have a Labrador or Golden Retriever because I walk my dogs. You know, it's
Yeah.
one of those things. So
Yeah.
find out what breed is right for you, and then aligning yourself with the right people to ensure you're setting yourself up for success. I mean, and it's also like I find people, you know, they talk to people and they're like, you know, I'm big on loyalty.
Yeah.
And like, it's okay that it's sometime to break away. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just because you started with this one person doesn't mean it's
If
not
your gut is telling
to
you
branch
that.
away, or you know, or something like that. I mean, it's all about growing. So I
Forging
think
your own
it's just stop, listen, ask the right questions, and then make sure you're doing right by the dogs.
I think that's a great summary. Let's wrap up with what would be some of your most impactful memories in dogs.
So probably most impactful, you know, we all remember the first time we ever showed a dog. I was nervous, it was crazy. And you know, and then leading into probably the first group I ever won on a Frenchie was a little Frenchie bitch.
Oh.
I was still in, I think I had just graduated high school, and
Wow.
I was like, I remember I won the group, and Chris had went second to me, and I was just like, oh God, like
This isn't possible.
I was working for Chris at the time, and I was like, oh no. And,
Yeah, yeah.
So that was a good one. Another big one was Preston going best in show at Royal Canin. And then actually this weekend last year was my first judging assignment when
Wow.
I did a Frenchie specialty in Pennsylvania. So that was another one. I mean, I judged Bulldogs and Frenchies and juniors here
Yeah.
last week. There's a lot, you know, I mean, even coming down to finishing my first bred by champion. I mean, there's so many memories that you can sit there and think about, but those are just a few just to, yeah.
That's great. I think it really just shows, you know, in our conversation here, how like dogs have added such a richness to your life
Oh,
that
for
like
sure.
even though you've already kind of come all the way to judging, there's still so much more to do.
Oh,
you know?
right. I mean, like, I've traveled the world for dogs. You know, I've met so many amazing people. I mean, this is the only sport that anybody from any background can compete on the same level. I think
with the top
oftentimes people
professionals.
get that confused because if you want to play golf, you can't just go play golf with Tiger Woods.
Right.
But like here, if you want to show your dog, you can compete with the person.
You and Linda Pitts can be in the puppy class
Exactly.
together.
Like, you can compete against, you know, our version of Tiger Woods. And,
Right.
and people, I think, lose sight of that often, which is another great thing about dog shows.
And it keeps you learning the whole
for
way
sure.
through.
You should always, the biggest thing is like, I learn something all the time. I mean, you can always pick up something from anybody you're watching. Like, show a dog, you know, maybe just lead placement, the way they flow from taking the lead off the dog, you know.
Yeah.
Coming from Bulldogs and Frenchies, it's a lot different than showing American Cockers.
Totally.
And so, like, I remember when I first started helping Linda and we were breeding them and we were in the motorhome and she was showing me how to stack it. And it was literally like repetition. And she was like, take it off the table, take it on the table.
Muscle
Hold the head
memory.
this way, do it. Exactly, 100%. You know, so just making sure you're listening and watching the right people. So
Great points.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time,
Oh, no,
Brandon.
thank
It was
you.
a pleasure talking with you, and enjoy the rest of your weekend
you
here.
as well. Thank you.